by the Sudas Yontif of the first day of Sukkot, Tovshin Lamed, that the Rebbe ate upstairs on the second floor in the apartment of the Rebbe, someone asked the Rebbe about Havdala, Motzei, and Kippur. What do you do with the leftovers? After a person drinks the kos Havdala, the one that makes Havdala, and there's some wine left over, what do you do with it? And the Rebbe answered like this. He said, Bechlal, by Kiddush, the Shver, the Frierdiker Rebbe, was medayik always to make Kiddush himself. By Havdala, he wasn't medayik to make himself. Besides Motzei and Kippur, as if, like it says in the Sichos of Tovshin Hey, that he made Havdala himself. And the Rebbe says the reason why he would make Havdala himself, why it's important to make Havdala himself. So the Rebbe says maybe you could say because it's connected to the specialty of Yom Kippur, because it's Kam B'Yochid, whatever it is, a specialty, that's why he would make himself. But B'Negeya, whether you could drink from the leftovers of Havdala, so the Rebbe said like this: a whole year, the minig is that we do not drink leftovers from Havdala, except if that same kos was used for benching. Obviously, by the Rebbe's Fabringim, when the Rebbe would give koshel broche, it was the kos that he made Havdala on, but it was before that, that same wine was used for benching, but maybe that's different. But otherwise, we don't drink the leftovers of Havdala, except Motzei and Kippur, you could drink the leftovers. That's one thing I said. Then, the Rebbe said there's a known meaning that people say V'yitin Lecha together with somebody else. In other words, two people to say it together. So the Rebbe said, it was once in Peterburg, I was standing on the side when the Shver was saying V'yitin Lecha. He called me by my name and he told me to come over to his siddur and to say it together with him. So the Rebbe, in other words, was ma'asher the sinyan of saying together V'yitin Lecha. Now it's interesting that if I bring in later, when the Rebbe was saying V'yitin Lecha, I don't remember which Fabrengen that was, but I think it was the next Fabrengen that came out that the Yontiv was, the Fabrengen was Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos, so the Rebbe said V'yitin Lecha, and that time when he said V'yitin Lecha, he turned around to Rabbi Mentlik, and he told Rabbi Mentlik to come over, he motioned him to come over, he should say V'yitin Lecha together with the Rebbe in the Siddur. And this was Behemshech, so what the Rebbe said here by the meal, that it's a inyan to say together with somebody else. But as far as I remember, this was the only time that he asked somebody else to say with him, and that's just to strengthen, I assume, to strengthen what he said by the meal, that there's a inyan to say it together. So that time, he asked Rabbi Mentlik to come over and said together, which is B'chal an interesting thing, because B'chal we know that the Rabbeim were makpi, that no one should say anything together with them in the same siddur, etc., etc. So I think in Rabbi Zalman Duchem writes in his Sefer, L'Shem Ha'ezen, that once somebody looked together with the Frierdiker Rebbe in the Megillah, and the Frierdiker Rebbe told him later, he looked with me in the Megillah. So they were makbid, no one should together. And here the Rebbe called him over at this one time that he should say V'yitin Lecha together. And that must have been the Yetzim and Aklal, an exception. But it definitely came Behemsheh because the Rebbe said by the meal on the first day of Sukkot that V'yitin Lecha you should say it together with somebody else. And he said that the Frierdiker Rebbe called him over to say it together with him.